Tyson Fury, otherwise known as the Gypsy King, has had quite the journey both inside and outside the ring. From beating Vladimir Klitschko in Germany, who at the time was 12 years undefeated as a heavyweight champion, the longest cumulative title reign in heavyweight history, to spiraling out of control into a midst of drugs, alcohol, and mental health issues, to now, in 2021, holding one of the most prestigious belts in boxing, the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the world. But despite his long list of achievements within the division, it's safe to say it hasn't all been plain sailing for Tyson in the ring. In this one, we'll be taking a closer look at what Tyson Fury's most recent opponents had to say about facing the Gypsy King. But before we do, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Let's take it back to 2013, where Tyson Fury would make his first trip to the United States to face off against a brash, confident Steve Cunningham. Cunningham was previously a two-time cruiserweight world champion before making his stint up at heavyweight. He possessed some real danger for Fury, and on the night, this was put on display. Fury had to get up from the canvas in round 2 via a sharp overhand right from Cunningham, but despite the early success of the former cruiserweight, Fury would use his size, weight advantage, and some of boxing's infamous dark arts to eventually overcome the American. On a tough night for the Brit, Tyson would go on to earn himself a KO victory later in the fight with a thudding right hook to the chin.
I'm disappointed that this guy didn't get disqualified for all the illegal things that he did. He caught me with a shot after he lifted me up. That's illegal. Whatever, man.
Listen, when he fought me, that leveled him up. I didn't know that this was going to be the situation. None of us knew Tyson Fury was going to be Tyson Fury, who he is today.
He's a good fighter. Like I said before, his size is his advantage. He did what he's supposed to do, which is be the big man.
Moving on, over a year later, Tyson Fury would be back in his homeland to take on a former opponent in Derek Chisora. First time out, Tyson won a comfortable unanimous decision against the fellow Brit. But despite the impressive performance, there was no complacency heading into this one. Now they had faced off once before, both fighters knew what one another could bring to the ring come November 29th, and as many would tell you, Chisora is a tough test for anybody in the division on his night.
That's how confident I am beating you. Listen, I'll take side bets with your promoter, I'll take a bet with you, a bet with your trainer, and anybody else who wants to put any money down back in Derek Chisora, I'm here, I'll take that bet, no problem.
But unfortunately for Derek, it was clear to see the skill gap between the two fighters in the rematch. Tyson outclassed Chisora fairly comfortably throughout, and eventually went on to earn himself a TKO victory after Chisora's corner had no option but to pull him out of the fight.
And I think he's going to do that.
I want you to finish on your feet. Yeah? Yes, come out of there, yeah? Okay.
It's finished.
Although the pair seemed to have no love lost during the build-up, Derek and Tyson would go on to develop a friendly relationship after their rematch.
Things happen in boxing, and then he came back. It's how you come back, is the most important thing. He's done well, and he's doing good right now, and I'm so excited to be in Vegas to come and watch, the first heavyweight championship in Britain to be in Vegas, basically.
Almost a year on from the rematch with Chisora, Fury would take on a Goliath within the heavyweight division. He would get the chance to do what no one had managed in the previous 12 years within the division: defeat Vladimir Klitschko. Pre-fight, not many gave Fury a chance, but that didn't seem to bother Fury at all.
I'm not gonna talk actually bad about your boxing skills. For a tall man, you move well, so you're a good counterpuncher. There's a lot of good stuff that you're doing.
Is going to OK Klitschko until the 7th round. So then you change it to KO Klitschko to the 7th round. So OK, actually, for your knowledge, means 0 killed.
As expected, the fight started tentatively for both, with Fury feinting and moving to offset Vladimir's balance early on. But as the rounds ticked by, it was clear that Fury's style and tactics were all wrong for the Ukrainian. Klitschko seemed confused and almost gun-shy. He never really had a foothold in the fight, and when the final bell rang to mark the end of round 12, tension filled the arena. Fury had surely done enough to win, but was he going to get the decision in Klitschko's backyard? Tyson Fury scored the victory on all 3 of the judges' scorecards, and became the first man to defeat Vladimir Klitschko in over 12 years. The victory would fling the doors on the heavyweight division wide open, and begin a new era in boxing's biggest attraction.
Tyson was quick with his hands and his body movement, and his head movement. I couldn't land the right punches.
Moving on to one of the most controversial, dramatic rivalries the heavyweight division has seen in years, the saga of Tyson Fury and the Bronze Bomber, Deontay Wilder. After coming off a rough time out of the ring, losing his belts and ballooning up to 28 stone in the process, Tyson Fury managed to work himself back into fighting shape and put on a terrific display first time out against Wilder, but came up short with a split decision draw. This set up a huge rematch between the two that would be held early in 2020 at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Given Fury's tactics in the first, most expected another classy boxing display from the Brit, but no one anticipated just how one-sided this would play out. On the front foot from the get-go, Fury pushed Wilder back and began to plant his feet, surprisingly landing the harder, more cleaner punches of the two. This would be the story for the entirety of the fight, and Fury went on to cap off a brutal, dominant display with a TKO victory in the 7th. But Deontay didn't seem to think all was fair and just on the night, as he followed up with a flurry of accusations toward the Gypsy King.
Things like this happen. The best man won tonight, but my coach, my side, threw in the towel, and I'm ready to go out on my shield, man.
You see, what you don't understand, thief, what you did is what my people deal with all the time. Someone cheating them from providing their greatness into the world. But it's a burden that we cut off only to make us stronger.
Get me out of there. People would try to label it as a knockout, but that's not a knockout. That's a stoppage because of a weak individual in my team that did something he was supposed to do, and that's throw in the towel. I ended the fight on my feet. It's a difference between a knockout and someone ending it on their feet.
Seemingly days away from announcing one of boxing's biggest fights, then heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua against WBC champion Tyson Fury for all the belts. A stopping block appeared when Deontay Wilder won his arbitration case against Tyson Fury for a third fight. A great rivalry would have to be capped by a third fight, and despite the dominant display in the second by Fury, a seemingly refreshed, revengeful Wilder made most think it wouldn't be as easy this time around. They were proved right. In one of the most exciting heavyweight fights in recent years, both men would have to climb up from the canvas in front of the Las Vegas crowd. But as the fight got deeper into the later rounds, Wilder's fading gas tank would be his hindrance as Fury began to hunt him down. A heavy counter right hand in the 10th sent Wilder to his knees, but it wasn't enough. Then in the 11th, Fury backed Wilder against the ropes and unleashed a right hook. Wilder fell to the canvas with a thud, and the referee waved off the contest on the spot. After an enthralling rivalry that will be one for the ages, Wilder still didn't seem too impressed with Fury and refused a handshake.
At the end, you went over to see him. What did you say to him?
Just said, well done, and he said, I don't want to show any sportsmanship or respect. I said, no problem.
Is that what he said to you?
Yeah.
Are you surprised by that?
Very surprised. Sore loser, an idiot.
But would eventually come round and put out this post on his Instagram page. So there we have it. Amongst all of Tyson's accomplishments and victories, he also seems to gain a large amount of respect, not only from the boxing community, but from the opponents he's faced as well. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching.